Seasons of waiting can come with its ups and downs, but Javanna is here to equip us and remind us not only that God is faithful, but that we are not alone. Welcome back to In the Waiting with Jeff.
Hello, ladies. Welcome back to In the Waiting with Jeb. We've had a name change, and I'm so excited for those who are joining me. Again, some of you may be thinking, who is this woman? What is her story? I started this podcast, this YouTube. It was called Worth the Waiting, but I just, the main term is worth the wait, and it just kind of never really set officially well with me until one day I was sitting with the Holy Spirit and I was just thinking about all of our waiting rooms, and I just thought, you know what, he's with us in the waiting. And what are we doing? What's our process? What's our journey in the waiting? So that is why I changed the name. If you want to hear the beginnings of our stories, the beginning of mine and Adam's story, go back to the first season. The first 2 episodes are our full story up until last September of 2022. So you'll get the full picture, where we were at, our journey, our 5 years of infertility and waiting on children. And then today, I really want to just say hi, welcome you back. I want to connect with you. I am moving to a website called inthewaiting.net, and you can actually email me to connect with me. It's going to be Javanna@inthewaiting.net. And so please find me there. I would love to pray for you, connect with you, encourage you. But I want to just share the last year, really. I want to kind of go over where we were at with an adoption, with a biological child, and what God did, and just really testify to his goodness, his faithfulness. All of this podcast is really just an offering to Jesus. It's just my way of giving back because he's been so faithful. So thanks for journeying with me, being in the waiting with me, sharing our story. Spreading hope is really the intention and the heart behind this. So I want to back up to last January. So January of 2022. We were really, let's back up a little bit further to September of 2021. I was really wanting a child again. We already have, at that point, had 2, and I was kind of getting stressed about it, to be honest. I was thinking about it. I was getting fixated on it. Sat with someone someday, a lady, an older lady, a friend of mine, and she just gave me wisdom and was like, you're stressing again. And I was like, you're right. I'm just going to lay this down. So I laid it down. It's not easy to lay down something you desire. I want to identify with your humanity in that if you're in the middle of laying it down, it's just not easy. So I put it down. I'd been there so many times of laying it at his feet. What does that look like to lay it at his feet? It looks like every morning, Jesus, I give you my womb. Jesus, I give you our children. You know exactly when our children are coming, how they're coming, and the timing. And so I just give that all to you. So this was just a laying it down again. I really I made the decision in my mind. It's a decision that you make to choose. You choose it. And so I just chose to lay down and really enjoy Raymond and Ezra, our first 2, over the holidays. And so Adam and I, my husband and I, we just really enjoyed our children. We had a great holiday season. And then January, I was like, I should probably just venture out and just see where I'm at. So just my body, make sure checkup is good. So my husband and I found a new doctor, and you have to do a online consultation for your first one. So we got on January 14th of 2022. We got on a consultation with him, and we were chatting, and we were going through all the things of, what we could do next, and how my body was, and what are the next steps. And at the end of the call, he was like, you might just want to take a pregnancy test, because I was late in my cycle. And I was like, okay, like I don't even know if I have one. It was just so casual. And so we hung up with him, and I went back and I took a pregnancy test. And I cannot believe what I saw. There were 2 pink lines there, dark as ever. And I came out, TMI, but like half pants up, down. Like I was just out of my mind. And I was like, I couldn't believe it. I think what was so shocking is that I was so rested and so just like, okay, like we're going to go through next steps, check my body. And so anyway, that doctor got me in, got a lab. Sure enough, I was pregnant. It had to go up, certain numbers. I think I was like at a 242. It had to go up double. All of you in the waiting know all those steps where you're, checking your blood, and the next day it's got to double and all that. Of course, it was a Friday. Y'all know those weekends where you're like, oh my goodness, I have to wait till Monday. This is not fun. Well, so Monday came, and it was like in the 600s. And so I was like, wow, okay, I am officially like for sure pregnant. And so we were just quietly celebrating, and time went on, and started telling friends and family. And our oldest daughter, Rayma, when I told her I was pregnant, I asked her a question. I said, what do you think mommy's carrying? Because I really believe that children hear from the Lord. And she has heard from the Lord a couple of times before, where it was just like, okay, that is God speaking. And so she said, you're having a girl and a girl. And so I just expected to show up to those sonograms and there be twin girls in there. It's something I always desired. And I went to those sonograms, and there was only one. It was a singleton baby, which I was super happy, but I was like, okay, maybe she or he is hiding. Maybe the other one's hiding. So I waited the next sonogram, and still just one in there. So I'm like, okay. Well, March 8th rolled around, and that morning I woke up, and I don't know that I've shared this on this podcast before, but we actually had a failed adoption back in 2020. And so it was actually our oldest daughter's half brother. And so I woke up that morning just praying for him, really just asking the Lord, like, if he has any connection with him, like, or if the Lord wants to us have any connection with him. I was just really praying for her half brother. And we got to meet him before, but we haven't seen him in a while, and we haven't heard from birth mom in a minute. And so I was just asking the Lord about that. And I don't know what heaven was doing that day. I can't wait to get to heaven to find out, really, because at 4:00 that day, I got a call from a friend who had been to our church a few years back. And he was like, hey, my daughter knows someone who's getting out of rehab, and she is thinking about placing her child with a family. And he was like, I don't know where you're at. I was like, actually, I'm expecting. And he was like, really? And he was like, well, just think about it, pray about it. So I got off the phone, I asked my husband, and this is when like God speaking is when you can go to your husband and ask him, and he answers this way. He says, well, why wouldn't we? And I just thought, wow, okay. I think I was more the one like, should we? And I think about the practicals, the reality a little bit more in advance than he does. So he's just like, why wouldn't we? And so anyway, I called him back, and I said, yes. We got connected with birth mom. And we just started building a relationship. And she has such a precious heart. We would go get our nails done, toes done. I took her to her appointments every Thursday morning. I'd pick her up at 6 a.m. and take her to her appointments at 7. And it was such a journey. It was such a journey of developing relationship with her. And she just really kept saying she had no desire to be a mom. And so, that was from like April until September. And so September came, and our little Anna Kay was born on September 15th. And it was so funny because the number 14 has traveled throughout our marriage, throughout all of our stories, our baby stories. Well, she actually went in to try to have the baby she was scheduled for the 14th. She was induced on that day, but that baby did not come until the 15th. So it's kind of fun. It really did start on the 14th, the process. About that time, I was, Olivia, my biological baby, was due September 22nd. So she was still inside me. And Anna Kay had been born, and it was such a precious. So birth mom ended up having a cesarean, so I didn't get to be in the room with her. And her grandmother, which is our birth mom's mom, brought her out, and we got to meet her in the hallway for the first time. And it was just such a precious moment. I got to be in the room the first night and feed her and be with our birth mom. And it was just those moments you look back and you just take these mental pictures in your mind, of like how just sweet it is, but also like you're also hurting a little for birth mom, because I mean, if you really put yourself in those shoes, just that she won't be mothering her, like it's hard. Adoption is not just filled with butterflies and rainbows all the time. So you kind of think a little bit, like you put yourself in the birth mom's shoes and kind of can see a little further out of like, oh, she's going to have to go through the mourning and the heartache and all of that. So we were supposed to sign, birth mom was supposed to sign, like, I think it was 3 days later. And that, it's interesting. We named Anna Kay's middle name Faith. And honestly, from April until really her birth, I thought, man, this faith journey is so easy. Thank you, Jesus. And I almost felt a little too easy, if I'm being honest. But it really didn't start the faith journey until that day, that third day, when birth mom changed her mind that day. And that was really hard, because, you just put all of the relationship, you put all of connection, you think of all the effort and energy and all the things that you put into it. And then birth mom is wanting to change her mind. And then on the other side, you think, wow, like, thank God she has some desire to keep her child, so it's just such a hard, like, process to go through. And, I want to honor her, but I want to honor our birth mom, but like, I want to say that the journey was not easy. It really was a back and forth, for, I think that was like a week and a half, 2 weeks, something like that, of just, are we going to have Anna Kay or are we not? The sweet part is birth mom named her Anna Kay Faith. She put that on the birth certificate. Birth mom, we told her, you choose, it's your choice, whatever you want to put on that first birth certificate, but she chose to put Anna Kay Faith. So we knew that we did have some sort of connection with birth mom that was kind and sweet and all of that, but it wasn't easy in those few weeks. And so I just want to say to you, if you are adopting, like, I'm with you. The heartbreak of knowing what your birth mom's going through, and then the sweetness of knowing, it's just so bittersweet, I guess, is the best way to put it. So anyways, that it was the fourth time that we birth mom was now out of the hospital, and our agency met with her and she signed on that fourth time. And that happened to be September 28th of 2022. I was still pregnant. I was now 2 weeks late. It's 42 weeks on that day. And this is just God in the details, and maybe our little Olivia biological just holding on and waiting and knowing her sister's not officially ours yet. I mean, however you want to put it, probably both. But we signed at around 10:45 that morning, and birth mom had signed at like 10. And during that time, my mucus plug came out. So maybe a little TMI, but it happened during that time, which, for those of you know, it can be it's the onset of labor a little bit, depending on how you look at it, but it's the beginnings. And so we went to my doctor a little later that day as I was having contractions, and he was like, we're going to send you to the hospital. And this is really cool knowing the Holy Spirit. I just want to tell some of you who are really into the details. We were back home. We had signed the papers. Now, Anna Kay, just so you know too, was in the NICU. And so all that time, for those few weeks, we were visiting her. And I wanted to back up and talk about that for a minute, because that was a really hard journey as well. So Adam's mom had been sick with cancer. And so our days looked like 5 and 6 hours going from one hospital to the other. And it makes me emotional thinking about it, because it was just really, those were beautiful moments, but hard moments, but all in between. So we would get up, I would get ready, we would go, my parents would keep my older two, had childcare all throughout, and then we would drive to see his mom first and then go see Anna Kay. And you talk about faith. We are still going to the NICU not knowing if birth mom was going to sign those papers or not. So it was just like every time we would show up to that NICU, we brought communion, we brought worship. We had a couple of different friends go in and pray and just seek the Lord. It became our little dwelling place down in that NICU, on that NICU floor. And we just really declared that she would be in the best place, and we felt like the best place for her at the time was us. And so we were just asking and petitioning heaven, and I just want to say it was a faith journey during that time. So anyways, fast forward back to the 28th, mucus plug leaves, I go into labor that night. And it was so just like surreal, because the girls, like, literally, it almost was, Olivia came a little over midnight. And so it was almost, they would have been like ours on the same day, which is essentially twins in a way, and so it's just so sweet to think about. But because Olivia was born at 1:13 a.m., the girls are now exactly 2 weeks apart, both born on Thursdays. And Thursdays are my favorite day of the week, which is just a really sweet nugget of the Lord. I just want to share these things. They're really just treasure chest. It's like a treasure chest of his goodness in my heart, that I'm giving you freely, because I want to offer it to him. And I want you to be encouraged that he is in the details. You just kind of look for it. So anyway, that was part of our story. That was the Anna Kay story. And then Olivia came 2 weeks later, and it's been so awesome. I don't know how else. There's just no words for it, really. I'm speechless at what God did. We call them our twiblings because they're not quite twins, but they're siblings. So they're our twiblings. And it's been fun. I would say some of you may be asking, like, what is it like having toddlers? What is it like having the babies? The way Adam and I see it is that it's kind of like, because they're developmentally in similar stages, the first two are 8 months apart, the other two are 2 weeks apart. They're kind of like one human, but just a little more. I don't know if that makes sense. So it's like, you got the twiblings or you got the toddlers, and we just kind of switch off on the pairs. And it just makes sense. A lot of people expect to come to our home and it feel chaotic, and it's just not. It's, people walk in just in awe, like how peaceful it is. I mean, yes, we have our moments. Yes, we have our toddler tantrums or whatnot, but for the most part, I guess we're just built for this season. I don't know how else to say that, but there's so much grace, and we're just so thankful. One part I want to share, I'm going to share in my next episode, is a story from the Bible that it's just a big part of community, and how community played out in those last few weeks with Anna Kay. So chime in next week, or in the next couple of weeks, whenever the next episode comes out, because I want to share just a nugget, especially if you're going through something hard, because you could see it one way or you could see it the other. And so I want to encourage you there. But thanks for chiming in today. Thanks for listening to the next part of our story. God's not done yet. No, we're not done having kids. I know you probably think we're insane, and that's okay. That's just us. We're already crazy. So anyway, love y'all. Thank y'all for chiming in. Thank you for the ones who've been excited about this podcast coming out, this YouTube coming out. I am so grateful to be back, and I'm just here to encourage you and spread hope. So tune in soon and go back to my last season and chime in on the other parts of our story. Cheers. Thank you so much for tuning in to In the Waiting with Jeb. I am so excited about this season. Don't forget to leave a review, like it, share it, go and subscribe. It means so much to me. I so appreciate you being there. Have a great day.